What do you say, everybody? It's Mick Gillespie. Great to have you on a holiday Sunday night. Hope you've had a great Christmas or however you celebrate the holiday season. New Year's is just around the corner. Alabama will play Notre Dame. So on the show, we're going to talk to Mike Singer. He's going to help us break down this Alabama-Notre Dame game that's coming up on New Year's Day. Also, we'll take your calls. We'll get into this matchup. Maybe you have some comments about what happened down at Auburn with the new coach. Maybe you want to talk about some of the bowl games that happened, including last night, which I thought was a really good bowl game between Coastal Carolina and Liberty and the possibility of their coaches. But I know a lot of you want to talk about the Heisman race. Two Alabama players already poised to have great seasons now, could possibly be Heisman Trophy winners, Devontae Smith and Mac Jones. So if you're watching right now, please subscribe to our channel, the Bama Insider channel on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up as you watch it. If you're listening to the podcast right now, thank you so much. Whether you're doing that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, we really appreciate you being here tonight. Subscribe to the Bama Insider channel. So let me bring on Mike Singer, and we're going to talk about this Alabama-Notre Dame game. Mike covers the Fighting Irish, and I'll tell you what, you talk about blueandgold.com and what you guys do. This is an exciting year for Notre Dame. I mean, they get the matchup with Alabama. First time in my lifetime that they're actually in a conference. I mean, because of COVID, they played in the ACC. They beat Clemson this year. Obviously, they lost to Clemson in the ACC championship game, but it's been a fantastic season. Welcome to the show. How's your holidays been so far?
Very good, Mick. Appreciate you having me on, man. Yeah, you mentioned a great season for Notre Dame. Certainly, I mean, it was like this dream season almost, first year in the ACC, and then wheels kind of fall off against Clemson in the ACC championship game in that rematch. Of course, the Irish's first ever conference championship game didn't look too good. So not sure Notre Dame fans are coming into this the Rose Bowl game in Texas. It feels weird to say, Mick, but they're not coming in too confident.
Well, look, I mean, first off, how weird has this season been? I mean, we didn't know we were even going to have college football, and I got to give the ACC a lot of credit, throw the SEC in there as well. The ACC was the first conference to say we're playing. Right. And I think if the ACC would have bailed, we wouldn't have had college football this year.
The feeling that we had going into the season on the Notre Dame side of things was everyone was watching the SEC. If the SEC is out, then man, that's football is religion there in the South. And I live in Atlanta, covering Notre Dame, so I certainly know that just how big football is here. Everyone I see here is a Georgia fan. So yeah, it's I remember seeing on ESPN people were saying that Notre Dame saved college football. I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, ACC and SEC certainly paved the way, while some of the other conferences found themselves in some trouble. And Pac-12 was kind of a joke this season. And then Ohio State, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the college football playoff. We're only playing 6 games. But here we are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've said the same thing on our shows right here on Bama Insider. And it's no disrespect to Ohio State. I understand they got a great team. And they were the one team in that conference that stood up to the commissioner and the presidents and the politicians that did not want to play in the Big Ten and said, hey, we'd like to play. But, they only played 6 games. So it's kind of hard to, put them in over a team like Texas A&M or Cincinnati that played a full schedule, or at least as full as you could play this year. But I got word from a source that I had with one of the elite football programs in the ACC early on. And they're like, look, if the Big 12 is out, we're out. And I remember thinking and they thought, well, it's going to happen in the next day or two. And I'm like, okay, fingers crossed we play. And, and obviously they stuck in there. But it was a big surprise to see Notre Dame in a conference for the first time. They've been an independent forever, right? What's been the reaction amongst Notre Dame fans to be in the ACC and to be able to play for an ACC championship? And maybe this year, well, I guess they would have got in anyway, right? But the fact that they played in a conference championship game, even though they lost, I think gave them some credibility.
I mean, my Notre Dame fans at blueandgold.com don't really feel like, playing in that ECC championship game didn't really result in any credibility at all. If anything, they feel kind of embarrassed. Look, Notre Dame hasn't won other than the Clemson 47-40 double overtime win at home with Trevor Lawrence out, and I believe Clemson had 3 defensive starters out. Notre Dame hasn't won the big one since '93 when the Irish knocked off number 1 Florida State. So this is another opportunity in the Rose Bowl against Alabama to win the big one. But, you just see stats pulled up. The Irish in these New Year's 6 college football playoff games, Mick, and the results just have not been good for Notre Dame. So there was even Notre Dame fans who were like, is it better for us to play against Alabama in the college football playoff, or would we be better off playing against a Cincinnati or an Oklahoma in a New Year's 6 game where we actually have a shot? I understand where those fans are coming from, but to me, at the start of the season, your goal is to get to the college football playoff to play for a national championship. Even if Notre Dame's chances are slim against Alabama, I still think it's better to play them, go up against the best of the best, and hopefully this game would build towards Notre Dame's next season.
I was in Miami, 2013, when Alabama and Notre Dame played for the national championship. I thought it would be a better game than it was. I mean, Manti Te'o, Notre Dame kind of, undefeated. They were the number 1 team. And Eddie Lacy and Alabama really trucked over them. And, I can remember Brian Kelly at halftime basically saying, look, the only way that they're not going to win is if they don't show up, and he feels like, from what he says, that this team and this program has come a long way from being kind of like right there to being in the mix. And I mean, beating Clemson this year, and I know that, Trevor Lawrence wasn't there that day. He was on COVID, out of the game, but I guess he was there, but wasn't playing.
Right.
What do you think? I mean, have they made a step forward with the recruiting, with the players, with the talent to be able to come in there and hang with an Alabama?
The feeling in the Notre Dame fan base and some of my colleagues at blueandgold.com is that the top tier of college football is Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio. And you can debate whether Ohio State's tier 1 or tier 2. We'll just throw them into tier 1 discussion. And then that next group, you probably enter LSU in there with their national championship last season. And then you have Oklahoma, your Georgia. And then I think Notre Dame, look, making the college football playoff 2 of the past 3 years. I think they've lost 7 games since their 2016 abysmal season when the Irish went 4-8. But since 2017, it's something like 45-7 is their record. So yeah, solid football program. I would actually say that they've kind of built their identity around what Alabama used to be, just smash mouth football. Now, of course, Alabama is, let's throw it around the yard, but Ian Book has thrown for 2,600 yards, only 15 touchdowns, but only 2 picks. So Ian Book takes care of the football. They have arguably the nation's best offensive line, a finalist for the Joe Moore Award, which is, of course, the top offensive line unit in the country. And they got a really solid running back core. Kyron Williams, redshirt freshman, Chris Tyree, a true freshman. Those are the 2 backs that Notre Dame relies on. Both are smaller, but Kyron Williams, a little bit more of a power back. He's small, but he runs with power. I think Alabama fans will, appreciate his talents. I think Chris Tyree, a little bit more of the, the lightning to the thunder. Really fast player. Won the openings fastest man challenge a couple years ago. So, it's an offense that is all about running the football. And then in the passing game, Ian Book is a good quarterback, but he's about 6 foot, 6'1", and he relies on making plays with his legs, scramble around, and either run for a first down or make some plays downfield. And I don't know if maybe me saying that, Alabama fans are thinking, "Ooh, this sounds kind of like Johnny Manziel." I don't know. I don't know quite about that. I don't think Ian Book He might have a shot at getting drafted in the later rounds, or maybe an undrafted free agent. But that's kind of the offensive outlook. The receivers aren't very dynamic. You got a couple of big possession guys in Javon McKinley and Ben Skoranek. I like the slot receiver Avery Davis. Great group of tight ends. Mike Mayer is probably the best freshman tight end in the country. Has put up great numbers. 35 receptions, 388 yards, and a couple scores. And then Avery Davis, that slot receiver. So number 24, Tommy Tremble, is a nice looking tight end. So it's a limited passing offense. It's improved as the year has gone on. But really, if Notre Dame is going to have a chance in this game, Mick, they're going to need to control the line of scrimmage.
He's Mike Singer with blueandgold.com, covers the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Alabama, and Notre Dame set to play in this year's Rose Bowl game, which is going to take place in Dallas. If this game would have been played in Pasadena, it wouldn't have had Alabama. I doubt they would have flown all the way out to California. They'd probably be in New Orleans. I thought it was interesting, though, and I kind of liked where Brian Kelly came from, where he's like, look, if we can't get our families in there, we might not play in this game. And I think that put pressure on the NCAA to find an alternative location that was more friendly to fans and less restrictive as far as this football game's concerned. And Dallas seems to be a really good spot for a college football game like this.
Brian Kelly's press conference in which he sounded off was the day before they moved it to Dallas. So, like I said earlier, it just feels kind of weird saying the Rose Bowl and Jerry World, but that's how we're going to start off 2021, Mick.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, look, 2020 has been as strange of a year as there's ever been, right? At least in my lifetime. But, you get this classic battle, though. Notre Dame and Alabama, this rivalry really goes back to Bear Bryant and all the great teams that Notre Dame had. And as successful as Bear Bryant was at Alabama, he couldn't quite get over the hump against the Irish. Alabama fans remember that. What does Notre Dame, you say they have to control the line of scrimmage. Alabama has a really good offensive line, obviously, with their center being out right now and gone, Landon Dickerson, for the year. Chris Owens is going to have to step in, or someone else in that spot. I wonder if that changes the offensive line. But from your vantage point, you feel like for Notre Dame to be competitive, to win this football game, that's where they're going to have to really do some work.
Really, on the offensive side of the ball, that's where Notre Dame has a shot. They have to. This is my opinion here. For Notre Dame to win this game, they absolutely have to be able to control time of possession. They need to just keep Alabama's high-powered offense off the field. I think. Look, there's a difference between desperation and like going into your bag of tricks, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think Notre Dame needs to come out desperate in this game, but. Look, when Alabama's on the field, Notre Dame, here are their starting corners. You have an NC State transfer, graduate transfer, I should say. Nick McLeod's done a fine job this season. That's your number one corner. On the opposite side, you have a 3-star true freshman from New Jersey, whose name's escaping, Clarence Lewis. Safeties, Notre Dame has Sean Crawford as a strong safety who's had an up and down year. He's actually a sixth-year guy. And then you have Kyle Hamilton. If Alabama fans know one player on Notre Dame's defense, it's Kyle Hamilton. He's a very good true sophomore, one of the best safeties in the country. Linebacking core solid. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah plays the Notre Dame's rover position, which is basically a nickel linebacker hybrid. The defensive line is a deep group. But honestly, Notre Dame, I don't think they have much of a shot to slow down Alabama. I don't know if we're going to get into score predictions here, Mick, but before I get out of here, but if Notre Dame's able to hold Alabama under 40, that would be a win, in my opinion. I've seen some Alabama this year. I don't know if, quarterback, running back, receiver, that's as good as it's going to get as Alabama has in college football in the past decade. It is very, very good. And I know Alabama's had some great offensive weapons here in the past several years, especially at receiver. And these guys that the Crimson Tide have are very good. So Yeah, like I said, kind of got to get into your bag of tricks, a trick play, a onside kick, things, just a couple balls bounce Notre Dame's way.
Right.
Because I just don't think, Mick, that Notre Dame has the horses to go out and beat Alabama, and that's why the spread is 20 points right now.
We're talking with Mike Singer from blueandgold.com. Phone lines are open, and when we say goodbye to Mike, we're going to take your calls and talk about this Alabama and Notre Dame game at 205-850-0883. Yeah, it's about a 3-touchdown spread, right? But look, Florida was a 17-point underdog, and they gave Alabama a really good championship game. Bama had a 16-point lead late, won by 8, right? So, and look, the Florida was kicking to try to maybe recover an onside kick and get the ball back. What's the difference between the first matchup, besides Trevor Lawrence, the first matchup between Notre Dame and Clemson, and the second matchup? Because I feel like Alabama and Clemson are very similar. I know that they don't have the same exact players this year, but that's been, in the college football playoff era, that's been the two big dogs.
The biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 was Notre Dame, and I don't have the stats in front of me, Mick, but Notre Dame outrushed Clemson something like 200-34. And then it flipped in game 2. Notre Dame couldn't run the ball and Clemson could. And I think a big part of it was, as good as this was my mistake in thinking, all right, DJ Uiagalelei was very, very good. He broke the record for most passing yardage against Notre Dame, threw for 439 yards. That was most ever against the Irish. So the thought was, man, if Trevor Lawrence was playing, how much better could he do? Because DJ was incredible. Well, the error in that thinking was just how good Trevor Lawrence is with his legs. Notre Dame sold out on stopping Travis Etienne and said, all right, DJ, beat us with your arm. And DJ threw the ball very, very well, but they could not get anything going on the ground, and that really stunted their offense. Well, when Trevor Lawrence comes back, you can't sell out on Travis Etienne on the ground because Trevor Lawrence is very good on the ground as well in those read option keeps. So he ran for 94 yards and a score, I believe, in that ACC championship game. So that was kind of the difference. So one point of optimism for Notre Dame going into this game is that Mac Jones is not very dynamic with his legs while Trevor Lawrence is. So again, that's one point of optimism, that Notre Dame doesn't really have to worry too much about the quarterback run as they did with Lawrence. But Najee Harris, Mick, I also cover recruiting on the Rivals Network for several years. And I remember seeing Najee Harris at our Rivals 5-Star Challenge. And this would have been, 2016. Oh, my goodness, was he impressive. Yeah. I am not surprised at all to see him where he should be. I honestly thought he should have been as a Heisman finalist as well, invited to virtual New York. But, this Alabama offense is a lot of fun to watch. And Notre Dame's best chance is, again, get a couple turnovers, onside kick kind of deal, make this game close, and hope something good happens.
Yeah. Let me ask you this before I let you go. Notre Dame recruiting. You cover recruiting, obviously, the Notre Dame rival site. How's their recruiting been? Obviously, they have good players. I mean, they're one of the final 4 teams right now. We just had the early period in, signing day. How's Brian Kelly done overall?
Yeah, you got about 40 minutes to talk about this. You're typically with Notre Dame. They currently have the number 9 class in Rivals. Last time I checked, that would be his third, I want to say, third or fourth top 10 finish in his decade at Notre Dame. You don't see a lot of big classes. So that, even though Notre Dame has 26 signees in the 2021 class, that's a huge class for Brian Kelly. But typically it's right around 20, so that kind of hurts them in the Rivals rankings per that scale. But they're starting to get, I would say, more in quantity of those top-end players. But with Notre Dame's academic restrictions, they have to get some 3-star developmental players. Notre Dame's quarterback, Ian Book, is a 3-star. Running back Kyron Williams is a 3-star. I mentioned the freshman cornerback, 3-star. You look throughout the defense, Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa, that Rover 3-star guy. I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick in April. So they have to keep getting these top end 5-star, top 100 players. But they also need to keep hitting on 3-star developmental guys because, Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State, they're just recruiting on a different stratosphere right now. And it doesn't help Notre Dame that they do have very high academic standards and all those sorts of rules and getting kids in. So it's just a little bit of a chopping down a different aisle, if you will, for Notre Dame. But the two positions they've just continued to recruit highly in is tight end and offensive line. A lot of people say Notre Dame's offensive line U, their tight end U. So those are two spots where Notre Dame continues to recruit very highly ranked players. But elsewhere, you see some 5 stars here and there, and then they've got to hit on those 3 stars.
Right. I feel like these are the best 2 uniforms in college football. I mean, throw Penn State in there. I like those too. But when and I was on the sideline for that Alabama Notre Dame championship game, I was just kind of taken aback when I saw Notre Dame run out with the golden domes, and then Bama. I love the crimson and white and the helmets with the numbers on the side. I mean, there's just something about, basics and old school and tradition.
I'm young, so I'm all about Oregon, the flash. Give me some pink in the uniform and some neon.
Yeah,
yeah, you love the tradition. Yeah,
I love it, man.
The gold domes are awesome.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is like Rudy against Forrest Gump. I mean, like talking about like old school and just something classic about these programs. Well, anything else, Mike, before I let you go?
No, I just want to say, Mick, I've really enjoyed some of the stuff we do at blueandgold.com. I emulate from what I see from you guys. You and Kyle do a great job. Bone, Tony, you guys have a great staff.
You used to work with Kyle, right?
I did. Yeah, I used to call him my boss. Yeah, about 5 years ago. Yeah, great dude. Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Fun to work with too. And he's a grinder, man. And like, you talk about him like, hey, this guy loves the work. And I think that's what it takes with this kind of stuff. But we're covering college football, These are 2 of the best teams in the country. They're going to play in the Rose Bowl. 1 loss between them. It doesn't get any better than this, right?
This is my guest room, and I got this fat head of Touchdown Jesus behind me. I mean, it's this is our jobs, Mick. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you celebrate, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Mike. Thank you.
Yep, anytime, Mick. Take care.
No problem. We'll see you soon. Yeah, great conversation there. Mike Singer with blueandgold.com. That's the Notre Dame site. If you guys want to get in and talk about Alabama, Notre Dame, you want to talk about the Heisman race, phone lines are open, 205-850-0883 on a holiday Sunday night. And I mean, as we hang out tonight, look, there's not a lot going on in the world of like live sports. So give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, the Bama Insider channel here on YouTube. Some of you may be listening to this on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, because we do pop them up there. So maybe you're driving from grandma's house back home. It's like 5 hours in the car. You need something to do. Go to the Bama Insider podcast channel, and there's all kind of stuff on there. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk with Max Howe, and we got cranked up with the Max and Mick podcast, and we talked about all the different things going on right now in college football. So, just to kind of give you guys a little something as we move forward towards this Alabama and Notre Dame game. And really, it's been so exciting for Alabama because not only do you have this football game, but you also have the Heisman race. You got that to talk about. Maybe you want to get into Auburn's new coach. They made a hire. How that's going to affect Alabama, we don't know yet. And then Clemson and Ohio State. All right, let's go to the phone lines. The 205 number is calling in. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Corey, calling from Trustville, Alabama.
Hey, what's up, Corey? Roll Tide. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, man. I got to tell you, I've been looking forward to talking to all of you guys because there hasn't really been, besides, pro football and last night's bowl game, which was excellent between Coastal Carolina and Liberty, not a lot going on. And there's been, at least as far as talk. So I'm like, I want to get on and see how everybody's doing and kind of get into some football talk. So that's kind of where we are right now. So what's on your mind?
Well, I'm looking forward to this game Friday. I think Alabama, as long as they come out and get off to a good start, I think we have nothing to worry about. But I know I've mentioned to you this before, but hoping to see how Chris Owens plays, and hopefully, I know you can't replace a player like Landon Dickerson, but hopefully you won't see like bad snaps or not being able to open up holes or bad pass protection. Just hoping you can be nice and clean and everything, and because Notre Dame's going to come after the weak point of the offensive line, which will be a new center. And as far as attacking Notre Dame, I think where is their weakness on their defense?
Look, I think Alabama's going to establish the run. I think they're going to go the opposite of the way that they normally do, where they're throwing the ball around. I think they're going to establish the run. I think Chris Owens is going to see, the best that Notre Dame has early. But if he snaps the ball cleanly and blocks, I think the rest of it will just come together. And this is probably a much better test than, being thrown right into the game against Clemson, if Alabama were to get there, or Ohio State, although I just got this feeling that Clemson's going to win that game. We're worried about it because Landon Dickerson's such a good player, but so is Chris Owens. He's highly touted. He's a blue chipper too. So it's just going to be a matter of him getting in and seeing how he adjusts to, being in that spot. But you get a bad snap, a couple bad snaps, it starts getting in their head. I think there's some other guys who could jump in and take his spot if he's not ready. But something tells me, and maybe I haven't even thought about this yet until you said it, I was more worried about him just kind of getting pushed around a little bit and not snapping the ball bad. I just, for some reason, I just think he's going to slide right in there with the rest of that crew and pick up where Landon Dickerson left off. I might be wrong.
What have you heard out of practice since they've come back?
I hear that they feel confident in Chris Owens. The rest of this offensive line is going to go to the NFL. These are some big time talents. So, you can't just replace someone with all the experience that Landon Dickerson has, plus his personality, the leadership that he brings to the team. He's well liked. So, that's not going to be there. But with that said, I just don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Now, I could be wrong, but, if Dickerson wouldn't have transferred, it would be Owens' job anyway. So I'm sure he's probably been waiting for this opportunity, and he's going to slide in there. And once the butterflies get out of the way, I'm expecting that he's going to be pretty good.
Are we good on the COVID stuff for the game, or we going to know that too?
And I haven't heard it. I don't know. Honestly, my fingers are crossed. Everyone's kind of gone home and or whatever they've done for their, the holiday. I hope they were really cautious, because I would hate to see COVID take away some of Bama's, players for this game. And I'm curious to see how this plays out. I just saw where, was it Missouri just had to cancel the Music City Bowl, and it's like, gosh, man, like you play all year for these opportunities to get into these big bowl games, and then, all of a sudden COVID happens. They test all the time for it. And, it's like you got to be able to, jump in there and be ready to go when, if something happens. Did I lose you? I think I lost you there. But yeah, so, if you're worried about, about COVID, that's obviously something that could derail, Alabama. And you just hope that that's not going to be a situation that they're going to deal with, because, that would be, it would be so detrimental to everything else that's kind of going on to have a situation like that. So we're going to get reconnected with the call-in line here in just a second, and and hopefully get these calls back. And if you guys want to talk about Alabama and Notre Dame, as you can hear us calling back in.
Thank you for calling Alabama Football Call-In Show.
That's us.
Caller ID authorized as a host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
All right, let's go right back to the phone line again. And I do apologize for getting disconnected. We're talking Alabama, Notre Dame. Anything else you want to talk about? Who's this and where are you calling from?
Oh, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You got me?
Oh, hey, sorry, Mick. I'm Chris. I'm from California.
What's up?
Hey, real honor to be on here. I watch your shows all the time.
Where are you at in California?
I'm in the Bay right now. I'm in Berkeley.
Oh, cool, man. I used to live in Chico, so I've been out there before, a little Northern Cal, and I've tried a lot of those Northern Cal breweries, Russian River, and then Santa Cruz has some really good ones too, Humble Sea and Shanty Shack. So I mean, like, I'm pretty jealous of what you guys got going on out there in the craft beer world. So, but let's talk football, man. Alabama, Notre Dame. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm rooting for Alabama, but people always are talking about how overrated Notre Dame is, and I think maybe a little bit, but I think people underrate Ian Book a lot.
He's a good quarterback.
I think he's a great scrambler, and really there was just I don't think it was really his fault that the loss to Clemson really was. Their O-line wasn't playing good, and nobody was really open.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that too. I mean, he's in the pocket. I thought he did a really good job in the championship game, and that Clemson just had better athletes at a lot of spots and kind of took away the options to throw the football. And that's when you really saw Clemson look like a team that had elite talent, and Notre Dame being a team that has some really good players, but just not enough to be able to overcome Clemson when a championship's on the line.
Yeah, because they have Alabama, they got all the athletic wide receivers, and Notre Dame, I mean, Avery Davis, he's pretty good, but other than that, they run a lot of tight ends who aren't really too quick, and it was just easy for Clemson to guard them.
I'm wondering what the case is going to be with Alabama and Notre Dame. My gut feeling is that you're going to see the guy on the screen a lot of Najee Harris. I think he's going to touch the ball a lot. Alabama's going to try to, basically establish the run and then pass off of it. I don't know why I think that. It's just my gut feeling that they're going to play backwards to the way that we see teams play now, where it's normally pass first, run second. One thing we saw against Florida is the way that they defensed Alabama was that the same way Arkansas did. They took away the deep ball and tried to force Alabama to either run or throw underneath. And, I thought Mac did a good job of staying patient, taking the passes that were there. And then, when some stuff opened downfield, he hit it. But we just saw a lot of Najee.
Yeah, and kind of back to the Auburn game, Najee kind of had a slow start on the ground, so we had to start passing him the ball, and I think that's really going to help us going forward. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest question, and Corey, our last caller, was asking about it. How does Landon Dickerson's injury really affect Alabama? How is Chris Owens going to be at center, or are they going to have to shuffle the deck and move some guys around? I think Chris Owens is going to do a good job. I just do. I don't know why. I just feel like he's going to be okay. He's going to get in that spot, and Alabama's going to roll. I got a feeling that we're really not even going to notice that there's that much of a difference. But part of that is that the offensive line is so good everywhere else that, all he's got to worry about is doing what his job is. And that's kind of one of the things that Nick Saban preaches to his team is, if you take care of your job, you do your job, the next guy does his, the next guy does his, you're going to be okay. So he doesn't have to do too much. You just got to go out there and snap the football and block. And, I'm not sure how he's going to do calling defenses, and maybe there's some other game plans out there as far as not putting too much pressure on him in a game of this magnitude. But I just don't think that he's going to be that much of a drop off. Now, he does his thing. Next, you see a lot of Najee. You know that Smitty's going to be there. That no one's been able to cover Smitty all year. Part of that is because Max had so much time to throw the football. I feel like everything goes back to the offensive line this year. The best offensive line so far that Alabama's had under Nick Saban, better than 2012. It's like 2012 O-line on steroids. I mean, these guys have just been better at every position. They've got, guys who are smart, are strong. They play well together. They're not going to have Dickerson, but that's why they have 3 guys in the top 5 of the Heisman voting.
Yeah. And another thing is, like, people always talk about how not good of a runner Mac is. And yeah, he's not the greatest runner, but he really doesn't need to with how good the O-line is. Like, he's taken maybe, I'm going to say, like 5 sacks this year. I could be wrong on that, but I haven't seen him get sacked that much.
You know what? Like the one game where he had some, he took some hits where he had a little bit of trouble was that Georgia game, the first half, remember? And he got stuck a couple times by the Dogs. And then Alabama came out in the second half, and the offensive line just pushed Georgia around the rest of the game. And no one was even close to him. I mean, and part of that was that you can be balanced. I mean, if they're selling out on pass blitzing, then you can run the football. There's a lot more options for Alabama than just having to sit back in the pocket and throw the ball. Now, part of that too is that Alabama really hasn't played from behind a lot this year. They've been ahead for most of the season, and that helps you out as well too. When you're not having to be predictable and throw the football. But no, he hasn't been hit that much. I hope that doesn't change in the next 2 games, because that could be a difference maker when you're playing against Notre Dame and the winner of Ohio State and Clemson.
Yeah, the Georgia game, definitely. I was really impressed with the adjustments that really the entire team made at halftime. And that really just comes back to coaching and discipline with the players. And also, back to discipline with the players, Saban said this a lot in his press conference, but we really haven't had like any problems with COVID on like on the team with the players. Obviously, Saban got COVID, but there hasn't been any problems with the players on Alabama, which I think really shows a lot about their character.
Yeah, you know what? It's like this. You're motivated to win, and you're motivated to win on the football field. You think you have a chance to win a championship. You go out and you do the things that it takes to get out there and play, right? They've talked about it before. I thought Nick Saban did a really nice job of articulating in a press conference right around Halloween, when Alabama didn't have players coming back and dealing with COVID. Hey, look, this is the guidelines that we set out. It was like, make sure that if you go to your families that you stay, 6 feet away, and you wear your mask, and you're not hanging out with people that you don't know where they've been. And then Mac Jones gets up and he's like, yeah, so holidays come, and, I ate in a different room, and I'm doing this and this. All that stuff matters. It all matters, because when you're playing for your teammates, it's more than just you getting COVID, because you get it. And then the contact tracing, if you're around the rest of the quarterbacks, they all could be out. And then the offensive line, you're taking the ball from the center, and then that person could be out. It's really difficult to avoid, because we don't really know exactly how you get it. I mean, we think we do, right? I mean, like, you shake someone's hand, or they cough, or, someone sneezes, that we know that stuff. But I saw a report where someone was like on the 4th floor and someone on the 2nd floor got it, and they never even came within so many feet of them. It could have gotten the air vents. I mean, some people are with somebody all day that has it and don't get it, so it's not like a definite thing on, how you contract it or you don't. The best thing you can do is just stay away from people that have it, and try to limit the amount of exposure that you have, with anyone that you're not sure if they have it or not, and Alabama's kind of set that up. This football team's been so motivated this year to win that they've done all the little things right, including social distancing. Now they've got 2 more big games left, right? You expect anyway, right? You beat Notre Dame and you play for the championship. So I'm going to knock on wood here. You guys can hear that, because I don't want anything to change. But, my feeling on this team is that this is a team that just gets it. Like, they just get it. Like, they do things the right way. Look, you hear Devontae Smith saying, I didn't come here to win a Heisman. I came here to win a championship. And I believe that. And he might win the Heisman. But if he doesn't win a championship, you get the feeling that he's not going to be happy with the way that this season's going. So social distancing and not getting COVID is part of this team trying to win a championship.
Yeah, that's true. And then the last thing I want to talk about before I go is the Alabama defense. Now, give me your opinion on this, but I personally think their best game this year was the Auburn game, and mainly because they were making tackles. They were like the Ole Miss game. I really thought the problem, it wasn't like getting to the quarterback and the running back. It was just not making first contact tackles. And that was really making me mad. But then in the Auburn game, I thought that that's pretty much all they were doing, and they were playing great.
Yeah, great call, by the way, and thank you. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you celebrate. We appreciate you being with us. The Ole Miss game to me was different than any of the other games because, I felt like Lane Kiffin just like knew exactly what Alabama was going to do before they did it, and his team was ready to execute. He's an offensive genius. He's a mastermind, and you got to remember this guy had been in practice with Alabama and has seen Nick Saban coach, whether it be as the offensive coordinator during a game or just matching up against the defense in practice, and his team was ready to roll when Alabama played Ole Miss. It also exposed some things with Alabama that they were going to have to get corrected. Now, the way that football is played now, I didn't think Alabama was really – I thought they played pretty good against Florida. They still gave up a lot of points. That's just the way that football is these days. Florida played one of their best games. Alabama played a good game too and won, right? So, I'm not sitting here saying that, hey, the defense didn't do their job. I just think that the way that things go now in college football is that teams just, are able to score. It's set up that way. And what you got to do is just try to stop those good teams enough where you can win football games. All right, well, let's go back to the phone lines again. And we appreciate all you guys that are with us tonight. Phone lines open 205-850-0883. Talking college football on a holiday Sunday night, a 251 number. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? Straight from the Mecca, baby. Bruton, Alabama. It's your boy, David Gaines. How you doing today,
Hey, what's
Mickey
up,
G?
David? I'm good, man. Another LA guy like myself. How's it going?
That's right. Lower Alabama, baby. No, we get it in down here.
Hey, we do. And like today, like I'm out there today. It was like 65. I'm out jogging. I saw a dude without a shirt on. Like, what happened, man? Yesterday it was freezing. That's just LA life.
Yeah, it got beautiful for a little bit out there.
It did. I'm sure
I
it's
kind of
chilly out
enjoyed
there
it.
now. Yeah.
It heated up on us a little bit.
Well, what do you think about this game? Is that what you're calling about, or are you going to talk Heisman?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking Notre Dame, man. But yeah, man. Hey, Notre Dame, they always get there, but they always do the same thing every year. It looks like they get in there and that first round they get put right back out again.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of curious about too.
Sir?
Well, that's what I'm curious about too. Are they really going to be able to hang with Alabama, or is this one of those games where we're going to look up and Notre Dame's going to be down by 4 touchdowns and Alabama's just going to be taking the air out of the football early?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because of who they played this year. And they showed their stuff a little bit when they had to play Notre Dame, but Clemson the second time in a row, and the whooping they took. I don't see them against a team like Alabama, man. That offensive line we got, and I know that center's gonna be out. And I tell you what, they're gonna have a handful. They're gonna have to be 10 toes down on every play. They're gonna have to be focused. They're gonna have to get everything right, and even with that.
I agree. I mean, look, these are big games. I mean, like these are the type of games that you go to college football to play. You know, to be in these matchups where where you're playing Notre Dame and Clemson and these type of programs. Games. Yeah, right.
You know, like you said, those uniforms, that old school, when you saw them gold helmets come out there, and that 14 or whatever they got on their helmets, you know, that's and these were the teams, you know, in the G that was actually, you know, making a difference in college football back in the day. So you get to see them all over again. It's why we, like you said, watch college football. It's a lovely thing.
I love the fight songs. I see some people in the comment column talking about them. Like when I was a kid, I'm a Catholic Irish guy. You know, before I went to Alabama, I was like a Notre Dame fan. I go to Alabama, I find out we don't like Notre Dame. You know, okay, it goes all the way back to Bear Bryant. I was telling Mike Singer that off the air. I said, yeah, when Bear never beat Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, Steve Berline had that sack, if you remember. Biscuit had that sack of Steve Berline. It was like in the 80s.
Correct.
That was the first time Alabama ever beat him.
Hey, let me tell you something. And yeah, the Bear never did beat Notre Dame. You know, that was his troubling point. And they say a lot of things about that game was a muck of itself, but that game was a classic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just Alabama fans, you know, with a lot of hate in their heart, you know, towards Notre Dame, because we had rivals. We rivaled them, you know, for when it comes to championships back in the day. So it was I'm telling you now, I think I want to say before Nick Saban had got that first one in was it 2009?
Right.
Okay. Before he got that first one in 2009, I think we topped them by one national championship, right?
Yeah.
I think it was 11-12.
Yeah, it
was. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we just kind of pulled off from them, you know, and it was kind of funny that we met them again. I think it was 12, right?
Yeah.
Was that 12?
Yep. After the
we
12th
met them
season.
again in 12, and it was just kind of funny to see them, you know, like, you know, we fighting y'all for national championships now. What y'all gonna do about it? In that game, they made so much hype about how Matt Tateo was going to come in there and just do the wide tussie, the backhead bounce, and the tussie roll on us. But you saw the score of that game.
Yeah. What I saw, too, is that at that point, and this is such a, this game is so much more important to Notre Dame than it is to Alabama. Notre Dame can win without winning. You know, if they hang in and lose a game that's like the SEC championship game, you know, where Florida lost by 8, you know, they walk off the field. They could recruit off of that. With
respect.
Right. They would have the respect. You know, in wrestling, it's called getting over. You know, it's like they need that get over game. Like they'd love to beat Alabama. But if they can't do that, if they can make a game out of it, they get over, and all of a sudden it looks like, hey, look, Brian Kelly's got this program with a ton of momentum. There's going to be,
turned around in the right direction.
Hundreds of transfers that are going to be in that portal. The guys that can come in and help them make a difference. I mean, you're already building on a recruiting class that is, in the top 10, and then you maybe you add a couple guys, or it helps recruiting the next year or whatever. I like Brian Kelly. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in college football. I really do, and I got to give the guy credit.
He really is. He really is a good coach.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to make a difference when he left. What was it he left? Or was it
Cincinnati? Right?
What Cincinnati? Yeah. When he left Cincy and he came over, I knew he was going to be a big difference maker then. And you could see right up immediately he was getting all the players he needed to get in there, getting everything, turned around in the right direction, and they were winning football games.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They beat USC, and they were doing their thing. So, man, I tell you, that is a game that I like to see get better.
Yeah.
Those two teams right there.
And the other thing,
now, on the other hand, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you first.
I was going to say, on the other hand, that other game with the Cats over there, Clemson. I hate saying that because they do get our number every once in a while. And Ohio State, they I don't know why Ohio State's now. You already got my argument on that. I'm not even going into that. But I don't think Ohio State played enough games for them to even be as a whole team just yet, you know?
Right.
Because your team got to go through struggles. They got to find leaders. They got to be battle tested. They got to put their face in the dirt, you know what I'm saying, sometimes, and get scuffled up to find out who gel, who molds together. I don't think they really had that yet.
Right.
Yeah. They're playing a team who played a full season, in my opinion, you know, after the Florida State game. But I mean, you got sunshine over there.
I agree with you. I mean, like and that was something else that Mike Singer and I were talking about, the Notre Dame guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, you can't assume that you're going to win those games, even if you're going to be favored in those games. You know, you got to go out there and do that. And for the College Football Playoff Committee to penalize Texas A&M and Cincinnati for playing games and give, you know, Ohio State a pass for not playing just really doesn't, to me, stand up to the spirit of competition. And I know it was outside of their control. You know, it wasn't their team that was, you know, coming down with COVID and not able to play and all that stuff, but they didn't play. I mean, at the end of the day, they played 6 games, you know, so they're not going to be as beat up. You know, they got a free pass. They didn't play a third of their normal season, right? I mean, and I guess with the retracted season, they played, you know, maybe half of that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, they beat 2 teams that I really don't consider to be that good, Indiana and Northwestern, and all of a sudden they're playing Clemson for a chance to go to the national championship game.
And it's just ridiculous. It really is when all these other teams, you know, want to play more games than they did, you know? I mean, come on, y'all. You got to be more serious about this. They haven't been battle tested. It's like that old Gatorade commercial. You know, they battled into the end, and at the end of that commercial, one of them drank Gatorade and one of them didn't. And the one who drank Gatorade is the one who gets that last little inch over, you know? So I think the one drinking Gatorade has had to be Clemson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, they've been battle tested. So,
yeah.
I mean, come on, y'all.
Look, this feels like Alabama. This feels like Alabama Clemson 5 in the college football playoff. You know, I mean, it just.
I think it's going to happen.
No, it just feels like that's.
I think it's going to happen.
And
War Rumble in the jungle.
Right. I mean, Alabama's got to stay focused on beating Notre Dame, because if they don't, they could lose. But once they handle business, you know, I just would be shocked if it was Ohio State. I really would. And, you know, who knows? I mean, it could be Ohio State, Notre Dame in the championship game, which would be the exact opposite of the way that I think it's going to go down. But
if Alabama loses, it's going to have to be Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Yeah, right. I just think, I don't know, man. I think that these first round games are basically, you know, just like we're doing it because we feel like we have to do it. The 2 best teams are by far Alabama and Clemson. They're on a collision course. These have been the 2 teams who have, you know, gone through each other pretty much the entire time that we've had this college football playoff, and I think it's going to be the same way this year.
I believe it. My last thing I want to touch on was the Heisman. Isn't it amazing for your team to be the team that has all those guys with Heisman? The 5th guy up was the running back. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I've never seen this before, and it's my first experience. I'm proud to be a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm proud that we got Nick Saban. It's just such a good feeling to be an Alabama fan in this last decade, you know. So
it might not happen again, too. But, it might. This might be it. I mean, like, you know, like that. You may never see 3 of the top 5 Heisman Trophy contenders being from Alabama. I mean, I would love to say that this could happen again, but it might never happen again. I mean, this is a rarity, and it's because you have to have the right skill guys, but you also have to have an offensive line that can dominate like this Alabama O-line has as well. And then, you know, the fact that, you know, a lot of teams haven't played as much football helps out. It's a perfect storm to get all these things together, where you got, you know, Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Najee Harris in the top 5. Now, we know that, you know, they're only really calculating the top 4 from here on out. So it's hopefully going to be, you know, Mac Jones or Devontae Smith, one of those 2 guys. I mean, it would it would stink if one didn't win it. I mean, for us anyway, right?
Right. It would. I think we loaded up there. I think Devontae Smith's gonna come home with it. Mac Jones was my leading guy, but it seemed like Devontae Smith has become touchdown Jesus now. So.
Well, hey, look, I hope he's touchdown Jesus on New Year's Day, because that would be a good thing for Alabama. I think if he scores 3, then the next show I do after that, I'm going to call him Touchdown Jesus. Hey, thanks for the call. have a great holiday.
You too, man. Hey, Mickey G, hold it down, man. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, like, look, Devontae's had everything going his way this year. I mean, like, and the dude's so cool on top of it. Like, look, I'm not in this for Heisman. I'm in this to win a championship. And I certainly hope that he does. Let's go back to the phones again as we talk to you guys on a holiday Sunday night, and got a couple people waiting. Just wait. I'm going to get to you. 229 number. Where are you calling from, and who's this?
This is Brandon calling from Valdosta, Georgia.
What's up, man? How's it going down in Valdosta?
It's going, man. I just happened to be cruising on YouTube here and come across this link that said Alabama's live chat or something. So, and I'm a Crimson Tide fan, so I stopped on it to see what was going on.
You got a lot to be thankful for this holiday season if you're an Alabama fan.
Oh, yeah, man. You ain't lying, and I'll throw in Jaylen Waddle. If he had not got hurt, we might be having 4 Heisman finalists on the Alabama team this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, like, it really is astonishing that that there's 5 of the 5 top players, that there's 3 of them wearing Alabama uniforms this season. That their performance has put them in a spot where, they could get the most prestigious award given out in college football. And you're right. I mean, and Jaylen Waddle, let me say this too. There's a chance, from what I'm hearing, and I don't want everyone to get your hopes up too much, but there is a chance that Waddle could come back for the championship game, from what I understand. It just depends on how everything goes between now and then. But wouldn't that be something if he came back and was able to play after the broken ankle against Tennessee?
Oh, absolutely. And let's all, if we're being honest, we all expect, and I'm sure the college football world is pretty much penciled in Alabama, Clemson, and if both teams play like they're capable of in these first round games, more than likely that's going to be the scenario. But Jaylen Waddle, I want him to come back, but also, I'm pretty sure him and the staff, he'll be 95% or better. I don't think he steps on the field unless he's confident and the staff's confident that he's going to be at no risk to hurt himself again, just by, running out there and, just being his normal self, So against Clemson, though, yeah, and I don't want to overlook Notre Dame. I listened to that last call there, and Notre Dame's definitely closed the gap talent-wise from the last time we played them and blowed them out. But if we play like we're capable and they play like we're capable, I still think we're 2 touchdown favorite over Notre Dame. Clemson concerns me. And I think any honest Alabama fan would be concerned just because of Trevor Lawrence and the respect that we have for them, because they have played us tough and beat us a couple times. And we'll touch on the last time we played them. What is it, 18 with Tua?
Yeah.
Come off the Oklahoma game.
Right. Through the interception on that first drive. Put us behind the 8 ball, and we never recovered.
Yeah, and if I would have not watched that game, and then the next day I told you to give me the offensive statistics for Alabama in that game against Clemson, and you told me we had like over 500 yards total offense, over 300 pass, and 200 something rushing, I told you we probably won the game. That was a weird game, wasn't it? Because Alabama kind of went up and down the field, just couldn't ever get in the end zone.
We got a better offensive line now, and we're going to be able to run the ball inside the 20s. And that was what killed us. If you remember in that game, like we would get down the field and then it was, and I say we, but Alabama would get down the field and then you get inside the 20 and you're not scoring points, right? This team
Absolutely.
with Najee is going to be able to go in there and push Clemson around enough to run the football. I expect that they're going to be able to score touchdowns. That's what they've done all year long. And I don't see that changing, right? I mean, we got to get by Notre Dame, and you're right that Notre Dame has closed the gap. But again, when I watch the way that this Alabama offense is consistent game in and game out, the problem hasn't been the offense, not once this year. It's almost like watching the 1993 Dallas Cowboys, where it's like you got Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irving and Moose Johnston and Jay Novacek at tight end. I mean, like this offense, that to me is one of the best NFL offenses I can ever remember, balance-wise, and just what they were able to do during their dynasty. I feel like when I'm watching this Alabama team, it's the same thing. There's so many different weapons. They do so many different things well. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. That it's not going to be they're not going to be the issue, and it would be the defense. And I just don't think that. I think they're going to make the defense is going to make enough plays, even against the Trevor Lawrence, where where Alabama's going to find a way. I was looking at the draft, the NFL draft projections the other day, because I was just seeing, okay, you got Mac Jones possibly going 5th to the Falcons, and then it had Devontae Smith going to the Patriots. It was going down the line, and Patrick Surtain would be a first rounder. Alabama had I think 5 or 6 first-round picks, maybe more, right? Depending on the way you look at it. Clemson had Trevor Lawrence and a couple other people. Like talent-wise, Alabama has more playmakers. And when you get into these big games, that's what's gonna play out. When it's because when you play for it all, the playmakers are the guys that are going to get you over the top. I mean, we saw it last year when LSU blew out Clemson. Clemson did some things right, but LSU had, all those first round picks, and those guys showed up. So my hope is Alabama, runs over Notre Dame. And then when they get into that game against Clemson, which I'm expecting, that it'd be the same thing. Now, if they beat Notre Dame and played Ohio State, I have to rethink everything, because I haven't really looked at Ohio State, and partly because they haven't played that much. You could watch Clemson, you really couldn't. You don't have a lot of work, a big body of work on Ohio State, other than they have a lot of very high recruits.
Yeah, and if you want to break down, I think Ohio State, from a talent perspective, as far as the athletes, they match up with Clemson, but they've played 6 games this year. And again, it's not their fault they missed 6 games. They can't help the Big Ten decided to about cancel the season and start late, and COVID. But talent-wise, they match up. It's just they don't have those extra 5 or 6 games that Clemson has under their belt. I think that's going to, trump Ohio State in the end. And I just don't think Ohio State's got the game time on the field this year to be able to beat Clemson. Now, that's why they play these games. Could be wrong, but I see Clemson, winning that game 2 or 3 scores. And, Alabama against Notre Dame, we haven't scored less than – I'll give you this, Georgia Bulldogs. Coming from an Alabama fan, I don't really care for Georgia Bulldogs, but I will give them props. That defense, and I know we put over 40 on them, Florida put over 40 on them, but we're putting over 40 on anybody. And Georgia's defense is legit. I don't see Notre Dame's defense being any better or as good as Georgia's. So Notre Dame's coming in this game, and they've got 2 options. They can either, we're going to run the ball, slow down the game, try to keep Alabama on the sidelines, which I don't think that game plan works. I just don't think there's a game plan that works for Notre Dame unless Alabama beats themselves and makes mistakes.
Right, or if Mac Jones gets hurt, right? I mean that's really the only.
Correct.
That's the only. I'm the same as you. And hey, look, thanks for calling in. Subscribe to our channel and come hang out with us more often. We really appreciate you having you on this
Yeah, man.
holiday.
Talk about that the next here in a few minutes. Why don't bring up and talk about that amazing 2021 class that Nick Saban just signed? It's absolutely phenomenal.
I will. I mean, look, and it keeps getting better too. And you can go to the BamaInsider.com channel and check it out, or website. Andrew Bone covers recruiting for us. And I mean, like, we have these meetings. It's like, I guess, like, we got another guy coming and another guy. Like, Alabama's doing a lot of late work to flip some of these guys, like Wheaton, like the guy from Texas, and going in and taking Robinson from Auburn, like this, they just don't quit. Nick Saban's always been like this. He's got a bunch of guys around him that are committed to this Alabama program. 3 years ago, or whenever it was, they lost to Clemson, and everybody's bolting out of town. It's hard to win a football game when most of your staff has other jobs that they're worried about besides getting ready for a championship game. So Nick Saban kind of went back to the drawing board, and he found some really good guys that are committed to Alabama and recruiting and building this program. Steve Sarkisian staying and not going to Auburn, not going to Arizona to be the head coach or somewhere else, tells you that there's stability here that's worth it for these guys who are on the offensive side of the football to come play. And then, the defense with Nick Saban coaching and, and the success that they've had there, some of these big guys on the line that are coming in, it's going to be really fun when we get this class, these youngsters out on the football field and see what they can do.
Well, one last point, and I'll hang up. And I know you got other calls to take, and I appreciate taking my call. So that's my first time calling. But it's not a foregone conclusion that Mac Jones is going to leave. He might come back next year. Landon Dickerson, obviously with the injury, he's because of the rule this year, NCAA gave seniors, he could come back. Jaylen Waddle, probably going to be a mid to late first round pick. Whether he comes back and plays in the Clemson game or not, or the national championship game, he could still come back. And there's several players. Owens, the center, that's going to come in. He could come back and play one more year if he wants to. Mosley, linebacker, 32, hasn't had the year that he probably wanted. They're talking about how he's projecting to be a third or fourth round pick by the way he's played. He may want to come back, so there's some potentials there for Alabama to have some of these guys come back from this team this year with some of these, awesome talent coming up, like number 21, McClellan. He came in against Arkansas, broke the big run. He's come in. You've seen he's got the daggum star running back light around him. He's going to have a bright future. But we get to Clemson, we're going to have to figure out a way to limit Trevor Lawrence hurting us with his legs because that's how it killed Notre Dame. But look, Roll Tide, I think we'll have a good shot to beat Notre Dame, and we'll look forward to seeing who comes out of that Clemson and Ohio State matchup.
Thank you so much. Roll Tide, and continue to have a great holiday. Merry Christmas to you. I agree. Look, Trevor Lawrence and his ability to run is something that Alabama, when they get to that point, is going to have to game plan against, and it worries me as well. A 251 number calling, and for those of you guys that are on hold, please stay there. I'm going to get to you. Don't worry about it as we talk Alabama football on a Sunday night. I'm Mick Gillespie, and this is the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up as you hang out tonight, and call in if you want, 205-850-0883. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Robert from Mobile.
Robert, what's up, man?
Hey, appreciate you having the show for us tonight to break up the monotony from the NFL. Well, somebody's been pretty good to watch. Great to see Jalen Hurts played pretty good today, even though they didn't win. He at least played well.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of the NFL. The Dolphins game last night, I kind of watched some of that on my phone as I was watching that incredible game between Coastal and Liberty, which so far has been the bowl game of the year, right? And then, I'm watching the way that thing ended. Tua got benched, but of course, in typical Tua fashion, when Fitzpatrick did a nice job of scoring a touchdown. Tua's the guy that runs over and congratulates him because he's just a great competitor and an awesome teammate. And it was an improbable win over the Raiders. I'm a Ravens fan, so caught the Birds today, got a win, and with the Browns losing to the lowly Jets, and what was the other game that they got another? Oh, the Colts lost to the Steelers, so the Ravens are now in the playoffs if they win next week. It's the AFC is a pretty tough race. And then, for those of you that, like you, Robert, that like the NFL, don't forget we do a show here on Bama Insider every Thursday that's like basically highlighting Alabama players in the NFL with JP Shadrick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's happy that with the Jets win and Jacksonville's loss, they're going to get Trevor Lawrence unless he stays in college.
Who's Jacksonville? Yeah, I guess Jacksonville will, which I'm sure you much prefer going to Jacksonville than the Jets anyway.
I would think so.
From your last caller, naming off all the people in Alabama that could potentially come back again. The only one that makes sense to come back and could actually gain something, I think, is Moses, Dylan Moses. The rest of them, if Mac Jones balls out and wins the national championship and continue to ball out the way he's balling out, you can't come back with a first-round grade on your son hanging out there in the NFL. No, you can't do it. I mean, that's just too great of a sacrifice to ask anyone or expect or even anticipate anyone to make. Same with Jaylen Waddle and, of course, Devontae Smith and Najee. None of those guys are coming back. If they ball out and win like this, like they should, then they're gone. They're all gone. And they should be gone. It's ridiculous to even anticipate those guys coming back. Would it be nice? Sure, but forget it. You got a first round card hanging out there, and no, you don't come back.
No,
I don't expect
so.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I would be nice because look, if Alabama didn't have all these guys come back this year that could have left, they might not be the team that they are. And on top of that, the guys coming back gave Alabama this air of confidence and also purpose. They came back with a purpose. This team wanted to win a championship, right. and what they've done this year is basically put them in a spot to win a championship.
Well, absolutely. And for this team not to win a championship, it would be worse than the 2010 team not repeating.
Right.
It's actually worse. You got more talent on the offensive side, the most in Alabama's history, and potentially in college football history, and not to repeat with this team, with this quarterback, and the way they're playing. I mean, not to win the national championship with this team and with this quarterback. Goodness gracious, we thought the 2010 team not repeating hurt us. This would just be really mind-bogglingly devastating for this team not to win a national championship because there's just so much talent on them. And again, with the like you said, we got 3 guys up for the Heisman Trophy that's in the top 5 for the Heisman Trophy, and we're going to probably break a record for the most first-round draft picks in the NFL draft. You don't win a championship with this team. You talk about something that would just eat at Nick Saban beyond measure. But again, like you said, hanging out there is the defense and Trevor Lawrence. However, Notre Dame, I'm sorry, it's so hard. People say don't dismiss them, but goodness gracious, Alabama's offense would have to give up 2 pick sixes for Notre Dame to stay in this game. I mean, it's the talent gap. And after what Clemson did to them, I just can't. I don't see it. I just can't see Notre Dame hanging without Alabama helping them out a whole lot. So, I mean, you don't want to overlook it. We can overlook them all we want to. We're not playing the game. Nick Saban and the team won't. But, as far as us fans go, yeah, we can do it whatever we want. We're not playing. So I can overlook them all I want to, as long as the team doesn't. And unlike Florida, with LSU, Nick Saban will not make the same mistake with Notre Dame. So he won't overlook them, even though we will. Right. But it's Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be Clemson.
Yeah, I'm looking at some different draft boards right now. I mean, just to give you an idea, here's one guy, Ryan Wilson, who does these. This is a mock NFL draft. He's got Mac Jones at number 5. He's got Devontae at number 15 to the Patriots, and Mac going to the Falcons. Surtain going number 17 to the Raiders. And after watching them yesterday, boy, they could have used him in that game, the way they bumbled it at the end. Jaylen Waddle, 18 to the Ravens, which I would absolutely love as a Ravens fan. You got, let's see if there's anybody else on here that he's got. No, I don't see anybody else for Alabama. So that's 3. And I've seen some with as many as 5 with some of the offensive linemen going. But yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of talent on this, obviously on this, this team. Here's Waddle at 18 to the Ravens. Oh, Alex Leatherwood, 19 to Washington. This guy is Chris Trapasso. So I think there's, and that's, let me see if I can find anybody else while we're just for conversation's sake. So we got Leatherwood, we got Mac Jones. He's got Mac Jones 23 to the Colts. So he's got him slipping back there a little bit. And yeah, so that's it. So, 3 to 5 guys, depending on, kind of where he says he's got Devontae Smith 6 to the Dolphins. Wouldn't that be something if Tua and Devontae got hooked back up in the NFL?
That would be absolutely awesome. I'm hoping Mac Jones slips even further and is available for my Steelers when they get ready to pick, which will definitely be after 23.
Yeah.
So hopefully the rest of the league will overlook him, and then not care about think about his athleticism is a problem, and then the Steelers sneak on in there and grab him. Right when Ben Roethlisberger is about to getting ready to retire, so that'd be perfect for us.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, you got too much talent on this team. It's like, wow, with that many first round picks, and you don't win a national championship, it just would drive us all completely insane. I don't think Florida was bad defensively, but as many people have pointed out, there's nobody else in college football with the offense that Florida has. They're the second best offense in college football, Alabama being the first. Florida is the second. And I think it might be a little distant second, distant between Clemson and Florida. I don't think Clemson is going to bring the same kind of matchup problem that we had with Florida. And going back to the previous national championship against Clemson, like you guys said, we kept moving the ball down the field, but we couldn't get into the end zone. This offense will have far more capable of getting to the end zone than it was when we lost in 2018. So we got a lot going for us. Again, if they just play like they want to, and this is going to get too anxious and too wrapped. I think we should win this when we want revenge and all that, and get one that gets too much to where they don't have fun with it and relax a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think Alabama is going to be really motivated to play, obviously, Notre Dame. The thing about this team is that I'm going to ask you this question, and I already kind of have an answer, but what was Alabama's best game this year? What was the game to you that stuck out, and specifically the offense? Was there a game this year that you felt like Alabama had their best game?
Oh, well, the offense was the Ole Miss game. The offense was unstoppable in the Ole Miss game, and they were clicking on all cylinders.
Right.
So the offense was the Ole Miss game.
See, and I agree with that to an extent, but I don't think they played their best game yet. Like, I just feel like they've just had this consistent body of work where, like, it's very hard to say, hey, this is the game where Alabama maxed out. There were seasons before where I would watch Alabama and say, okay, they beat LSU, and it just seemed like they were kind of on a downward spiral, like this slightly, going this way. Like it was like everything built up to that. And then, maybe they didn't lose, but they just didn't play as well. this team has been on the offensive side of the football consistent throughout. Like what you're going to get. You see it. Maybe they haven't. They had the third quarter of the Florida game where they didn't score any points, and then they bounced right back in the fourth quarter and picked it back up. That was after having a great first half. Maybe a little slow starting off against Georgia. I give their defense a lot of credit, but I just don't feel like there's been that game where Alabama has not played consistent. But I think that there's a great game waiting, and what I'm hoping is that they run over Notre Dame and then they get into that Clemson game, and it's like the 92 championship game against Miami. I mean, they just come out and they're so focused, or the championship game against LSU in 2012, the BCS game where it was supposedly the game of the century too, and Alabama was just so much better than LSU. It wasn't even a contest, and you could tell they were just absolutely focused. Or maybe the 2009 Florida game in the SEC championship where Alabama just was everything built up to that. I'm hoping that the Clemson game, if it happens, is kind of this is all the precursor to the finale of what could be one of the greatest seasons in Alabama history.
Well, I guess what you're saying is because the offense, it was the Ole Miss game. Defense, it was actually the Arkansas game.
Yeah.
I guess what you're saying where you feel like both sides of the ball are playing their A game at the same time in the same game.
Right.
And we have yet to see, because in the Arkansas game, the defense was actually playing their A game. The offense, their B+ game, was still more than enough to beat Arkansas. But they lit up some points on the field on offense in that game. But the defense, shut the team down utterly. And in Ole Miss, they shut them down utterly. But again, it felt like the offense, you guys may be leaving a few points on the field in that game. Where you don't feel like the offense left any points on the field and the defense pretty much shut down a good offense like they should.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I just feel like like even in the Florida game, there was never a point where I was worried that Alabama was going to lose. As a matter of fact, the only time that I was really concerned this year was when Alabama was playing Ole Miss, and Ole Miss just kept scoring so fast. And I was like, gosh, is there going to come a point where we don't score? And what I found out is that Mac Jones just bring those guys back to the line of scrimmage, and Alabama would score. And it was kind of like, okay, we got pushed a little bit. And honestly, like Nick Saban said after the Florida game, I think it was good to have that game then, because this is what you're going to get now. Notre Dame's probably the best matchup for us. They play that pro style set. They're from that conference. And I guess this year the ACC, but we would play against the Michigan States in these kind of games, and you're trying to run a pro set. It just doesn't work. Like their offense to me isn't prolific enough to beat Alabama. As long as the guy on the screen there, Mac Jones, stays healthy. If something happens and he gets hurt, then it's a different thing. Then all of a sudden, what are you looking at? Is it Bryce? Is it Paul Tyson? I don't know, and I don't want to get into that, right? Because that's why I want. Look, let's establish the run. Let's let Najee beat up on these guys a little bit. Run behind that offensive line, and then all of a sudden just start cracking them downfield with Billingsley and of course Smitty. And I think that if Notre Dame falls behind by a couple of touchdowns like they did against Clemson, I don't think they have a chance to come back and then, sit back and see what happens in the other game.
Yeah, only turnovers will keep Notre Dame in this game. We could beat Notre Dame right now with Bryce Young. With Bryce Young at quarterback, if we don't turn the ball over. Turnovers are the great equalizers of any game. If you turn the ball over, okay, now all of a sudden a team that's mediocre, you're giving them a chance. But if you don't turn the ball over, you beat Notre Dame with Bryce Young. And real quick before I go, it would be great if Jaylen Waddle comes back. This game against Notre Dame is the great tune-up game for him to come back in. So I really wish if he's coming back, he would come back in this one to get the motor running again before you go play Clemson.
Yeah.
Or maybe Ohio State. Ohio State may get lucky and pull this out.
Yeah.
Although the game I saw them play against Northwestern, I'm not so sure they can either.
No, come on. They're not. I mean, look, they got a 35-7 lead on Indiana and had to hold on for dear life. They were scrapping it out with Northwestern, who lost to Michigan State. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to have an excuse. It's rust or this or that. But Clemson, I just can't imagine Clemson losing. I just think Clemson's going to be ready to go. They've got the talent, and that's just. I would say, look, we take care of Notre Dame. We'll see Clemson. That'll be the matchup. And if I'm wrong, then you know what? Let's see it. Because Ohio State's got some ballers too. It'd be a huge matchup. But I can't imagine Clemson losing to them. So, hey, Robert, thanks for calling, man. Have you had a good holiday so far?
Oh, yeah, this has been really good. So, okay, great talking with you, man.
Thanks. Roll Tide. It's Robert from Mobile. Great caller there. All right, we're going to get to all these calls, and I appreciate all you guys for hanging around as we talk college football. Another 251 number. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
This is Robert, or actually I'm Robbie too. Robert Tomlin, Mobile, Alabama. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide, back-to-back Roberts from Mobile. How's it going?
Yeah, no kid, man. Back to back. I'm actually walking around Walmart in Sims, Alabama, talking to you guys too. What's so funny? I'm actually looking for my girlfriend. It's a funny thing too. Amanda. I'm sorry. I'm walking around the garden center in Walmart in Sims. But anyways, my question to you guys is one thing. Do you think Nick Saban will retire if he wins the national championship this year?
I don't. Is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. And I think eventually that's going to happen. My thought's always been on Saban is that he's going to retire. It's going to be sudden, and he's going to be out. He's just going to say, hey, look, it's over. I don't think you're going to have a lot of rumors about it. I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where, we kind of think it's a possibility. But this year, I just don't see it. Look, he missed the game because of COVID, and he's got this huge recruiting class coming in. I think the fact that Steve Sarkisian, though, didn't take the Auburn job, didn't go to Arizona, tells us that maybe Nick Saban is contemplating when he makes that move, because a lot of people feel like Sarkisian's going to be the guy to take over the job when he leaves. But I just don't see it happening this year, even if they win a championship. So don't worry if they win a championship that he'll leave. If he does, I think it would really be shocking. I just don't see it happening. I think he's got too much more coaching left in him, and I don't even know what he would do without coaching. Maybe he'd be athletic director.
Kirby Smart would be my choice for coach. He took over Georgia a while back, but Sarkisian did a great job while they had the COVID thing going on. And Nick Saban, tied with Bear Bryant with 6 national championships. It really disturbs me just thinking about that, because Nick Saban, the gold standard for college football coaches, is the main focus of the entire state of Alabama. And I wonder, literally, because he'll have one more than Bear Bryant, there's nothing left for him to really accomplish after that.
Yeah, well,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. But you know what? To him, I don't even know if he really pays that much attention to, all the championships. I mean, it's like and that's what's different with him than everyone else is, look, You win one championship, and most of us would be pretty happy with that, right? This guy wins a championship, and on the flight home, and I've heard this from people that used to work for him, he's worried about next year. He's starting to figure out what's it going to look like if this guy leaves for college, for the NFL, or this thing happening here and there. He's not even enjoying it. So if he gets to the point where he really starts to feel like it's that the burden of coaching is heavy, then I could see him getting out of it. But I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know him personally, but the people that I know that talk to him seem to think he's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, and I wanted to also say, apologizing too. Seriously, I'm actually walking around the Walmart store, and I love your show, and we were enjoying this. Forgive me for being in Walmart, but I really do. Yeah. Anyway.
Did you find your wife?
I'm sorry.
You were looking for your wife in Walmart. Did you ever find her?
Actually, she's back in the clearance section. I want to send a big Roll Tide. We're live on the air, guys. Say what's up.
Hey, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide from Walmart in Sims, Alabama, brother.
Hey, thank you guys. Awesome. Well, hey, Robert, thanks for the call. Have a great holiday.
So much,
Merry
friend.
Christmas, my friend.
Day.
All right. That was awesome, man. from the clearance section in Walmart, which I got to tell you, I've been there myself before. I don't know if I've ever been to the one in Sims, but I've been to Walmart many times. Great to have you. This is an 815 number. Who's this and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Illinois, and I told him
yeah, what's up, man? How's it going?
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say a few things. I will say this. I got 4 things happening. Don't worry about the Notre Dame game. That's an easy dub. I'm just going to tell you that. We got 2 situations, which is we got Clemson or Ohio State. Who do I see winning the most? I see Clemson just winning by a hair, just a fraction. And that's going to be the winner, chicken dinner right there.
You're saying the Ohio State game.
Jaylen Waddle is going to go off, and he's going to get back when he plays in Notre Dame. If he plays, I don't know. But I want that man to stick around for another year, see if he got I don't think he's developed yet. And if we have to go against Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, we need to stop him. If we go against Ohio State, we got to stop Jalen Hurts. What do I see more likely to happen? Clemson. And the last caller was saying Nick Saban was going to retire. Oh, something about Nick Saban retiring. If I know anything about Nick Saban, I know that he will stick around for football as long as he dies. And that's a fact.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, I think Nick Saban's going to stay. I mean, I just don't, unless he became the athletic director and decided that, I think I could see him retiring to the job of athletic director. And but he could do that and coach. I mean, Bear Bryant was the head coach and athletic director. You know, Alabama has an athletic director right now that does a good job, and Greg Byrne. I could see Greg Byrne maybe eventually going back to the West Coast and the Pac-12. There's a lot of turbulence right now with the commissioner of that conference. You know, so who knows? You know, maybe they look at him and say, hey, you know, you've done a great job. You were at Arizona, now Alabama, come back and run our conference. I'm sure that's like a big upgrade for him and his career. Yeah. And then that opens up the job. I don't know, though. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Nick Saban still has the fire.
He's not going to get fired. That's for all the Bama fans, even me. I think Nick Saban's never going to retire. He's never going to really do anything to get him on the hot seat. But right now, I just think we just need to be consistent with the ball. Najee is very good. He has a few flaws, I'll say that. He just needs to be more consistent with running. Matt Jones needs to work his speed a little more, I would say. Matt Jones, he got an arm. He's like Jay Cutler, but I don't know. Well, I'm a Bears fan, so I know about bad draft picks.
Right. Big win today for the Bears, by the way. They're back in the playoff picture. I think if they win next week, they're in. They got some help when Arizona lost, and then they beat up on the hapless Jaguars. But so they're back in there. I follow the Bears a little bit too.
Yeah, I can just see people saying like Bama has. You know how people have been saying, Bama has bad quarterbacks? Like, there's never been a good quarterback. Well, look at Tua. That's an example of a guy that wants the job.
Yeah, look, I mean, there was a run of Bama quarterbacks historically. I mean, Bart Starr was a Bama quarterback, Snake Stabler, Joe Namath. obviously, one of the greatest of all time. And then, you had other guys that came through that got into the NFL at quarterback. Our buddy Jay Barker played in the NFL, but now all of a sudden you turn around, you got Jalen Hurts and Tua. Mac's going to be an NFL quarterback. Yeah. They're finding this. You're right. There was a, McCarron's in the NFL. He's not a starter, but he's in there. McElroy played in the NFL, but he was a backup. So, but you're right. Now all of a sudden you got star quarterbacks in the making that played for the Crimson Tide. And that just kind of also shows this shift of focus for Alabama and the rest of college football, where offense has become so important.
Yeah, and also I don't really think offensive linemen get enough love and respect for what they do. Like, honestly, I'm an offensive lineman myself, so I know this, that people don't really think that playing just one position is a lot. But when you think about it, you're putting your heart and your soul into this thing that it's called football, and you love it so much that you would treat it with as much respect you want. And that's what all these football players are doing. They try their job. On defense, cover 3, cover 4, most likely a lot is Nick Saban's go-to. I see on offense, I formation, mostly. I see a lot of spread, a lot of what's it called, wildcat, and yeah, I can tell you a lot about all
doubt
stuff that I can see.
Well, have you had a good holiday so far?
Yeah. How about you?
It's been great, man, and thanks for calling in. And we'll be back with basically all week. So we're gonna get cranked back up. We got our tailgate show will be coming up on the 3rd. We'll have that actually on the 1st. Yeah. It'll be on the 1st at 9 o'clock in the morning. We got some other shows coming on this week. So thanks for calling in, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday.
Can you follow me on YouTube? I am Taint Beats. I usually put a lot of stuff in the chat. I am subscribed to you. I love your show, man.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Hey, roll tide. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Good call there coming from Illinois up north. Got a couple more calls to get to. 850 number. Where are you calling from and who's this?
Hey, Mick, it's Parker.
What's up, dude?
Pensacola.
Jackson. Oh, yeah, Pensacola. I keep saying Jacksonville, but you're a Panhandle guy. You're a Panhandle guy.
Yeah, well, it's actually Pace. It's right outside of Pensacola.
Oh, yeah, I know Pace.
So do we know real quick for the Crimson Tide Sports Network? I haven't heard about. Do you know when they're doing their preview show for the game?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm normally it's like the day before or something.
2 days.
2 days before.
Normally they do Hey Coach the Thursday before the Saturday. So I don't know. I just haven't heard anything. But you know what would I don't. Because here's my thing, Nick. It's like I don't want Clemson or Ohio State.
Right. Yeah, but you don't have that choice. You got to pick one you got to pick your poison, as they say.
I'm not. Clemson's scary though.
Yeah.
Clemson is scary, but I'm just ready for I'm just ready for another game, and I hope you had a Merry Christmas, my friend.
I did. I missed all you guys. Like I'm looking at Jace cracking me up on the chat here. Get to hear from you and Robert over in Mobile. Got another Robert that's at the Sims Walmart, and we're all hanging out. Like it's like there. Once the football games are over, and because of this season, you got like all these canceled bowl games and stuff. There's not a lot going on, so like I couldn't wait to get on here and just, kind of chop it up with you guys for a little bit on this Sunday night. And for those of you that are watching, a couple of things that I want to ask you is subscribe to our channel, the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up and also check out our podcasts. I do one with Coach Max Howe. He's, kind of a legend when it comes to SEC talk. He used to be on my Alabama, University of Alabama pregame show. And I started this when I was the sports director at WVUA Radio, which is the free college station that we all worked at, trying to get to a point where we could do stuff like this. And Max was like, he was humming. I mean, he was doing, a show out of 680 in Atlanta that was big college football show. He had a show called Southern Sports Tonight that used to come on across the South. And everybody listened to it. And, it was really one of the only syndicated college football Southern sports shows, but he always took the time to do my show. And it's just really fun to do this podcast. So Apple, Spotify, you can go on there and listen to Max and I talk college football. We recorded one of those, and today we do it every Sunday.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, 2020 just been a year, but we got the season in.
Yeah.
We got the season in. As soon as COVID started, I said, they better not cancel college football. Because it's just, what would we do, it's like the third Saturday of October when we didn't have the Alabama-Tennessee game or But what are your thoughts about the playoffs? Like, what do you see happening?
I think this is just all, it's like watching the Karate Kid when you're watching like the preliminary bouts, and Johnny Lawrence is on one side and Danny LaRusse is on the other, and they're going to meet at the end, right? And they got to beat all these other chumps to get there. Notre Dame and Ohio State are the chumps that are in the way for us to see Clemson and Alabama play. That's what I think, and I guess Ohio State has a better chance of beating Clemson than Notre Dame has a chance to beat Alabama. I think Alabama, if Max stays healthy, is going to get freight trained, and we're gonna go back and relax. And,
52-17,
watch the game.
You heard it from me, 52-17.
Yeah, something like that, right? I mean, they're going to have a tough time scoring because they're going to be playing from behind the entire game. But, look, the world of college football right now comes down to Alabama and Clemson, and I just think that's what we're going to see.
I hate to say it, but it's like I just wish Clemson would actually play somebody.
Well, Notre Dame, North Carolina, but look, the ACC, it's just not a good conference anymore. Because there's not any good teams.
Every year you get Alabama and Clemson every year. It's like of course we always want to be there, but getting Clemson in it I don't know. It's just, I love their quarterback. I respect their quarterback, but he's too good.
Yeah, he's good. And look, Trevor Lawrence is an equalizer in this game. They're gonna be confident, and Alabama's gonna have to score and put pressure on Clemson. Clemson's not unbeatable. They've got problems. For Alabama lost to Notre Dame. To Clemson in that last championship game. And the two times that Clemson beat Alabama had issues with coaching, where coaches were taking other jobs and, they're going here and they're going there. I didn't feel like I thought the coaches let the players down, to be honest with you. And I said that, before the game on my old radio show. I said it after the game. And I'm going to say it now. I really feel like these games are so razor thin that you have to have your coaches focused on winning that particular football game. Is Butch Jones going to Arkansas State worrying me? No, I don't care. He can take Major Applewhite or whoever's going with him. It's not going to matter. But you start losing, your offensive coordinator, your line coach, the running back coach, your defensive coordinator, the assistant, this guy, that guy, and then you got to go play these games. The first round game, hey, you're going to be able to get by that one on talent alone. But you get into these games against Clemson. Remember, look, I've got this back here. You can see this. I don't want to break this, but this is from New Life Art, right? This is a trophy. Not a trophy, but it looks like a trophy. It's a sculpture of Kenyon Drake scoring that game-winning touchdown against Clemson to win that national championship in Glendale, Arizona. And I was at the game. I was sitting next to Mike Johnson, the two-time All-American offensive lineman, and my buddy, and Baron Huber. Both of those guys were on the 2009 championship team. And when Mike gets excited, he's got very big hands, and he slaps you with them, and it hurts, So I was like beat up after that football game, but I was happy. And I have that right there from New Life Art and Daniel Moore to remember it from, right? My point really is that Alabama had to play a damn good game to win, right? They had the onside kick with Marlon Humphrey. They had to play a damn good game to win, and they did. But everything was everybody was focused on doing that. The other two times that they lost to these guys, they weren't focused. The other game that they won, which was in the first round of the playoffs, Clemson, had a quarterback that couldn't throw downfield, and I don't think ever really had a chance to beat Alabama because of that. This guy, Trevor Lawrence, will tear you up if you let him. Alabama's going to have to put pressure and try to make Notre Dame, they're going to have to make Clemson one-dimensional and then figure out a way to stop Trevor Lawrence from running if they get there. First thing, though, they got to beat Notre Dame, and I think that Alabama's going to do that with basically dominating the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, do you like a 42? Do you think we could score 50 on Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, of course. Of course. I mean, look, I
55-17.
I think it just depends
55-17.
I just think like it depends on the start that Alabama has. They have a start like they did against LSU, and they're like a freight train. You can't, they scored 5 touchdowns on the first 5 possessions. And that was the game to me that this team was the most focused for. They played well against Auburn too, but Clemson did all that talking. And there was a lot of trash talking going on. And I think there was what my father used to say, they got an attitude adjustment. And I thought that the attitude adjustment came where Alabama was in that game about as focused as they could be. Would they score 50? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long you leave your starters in the game if you get that big of a lead, just because you don't need anyone getting hurt. Now, Saban, historically has left guys in maybe a little too long instead of pulling them out too early. But going into what would be a game against Clemson or Ohio State, and 11 days to get ready for it. And if they had it in control, I'm just guessing that he's going to play it pretty. I mean, look, they get a big lead, and what do? They take the air out of the football, and part of that's probably just that no one gets hurt. Then when
we just got to play big boy football.
Yeah, but then what happens is that they want to run the football.
Play big boy football. We're not playing And the one thing I liked about this year is we weren't playing like the Georgia Southerns or the Dukes, the no-name team,
right,
as I call them. I wouldn't say that in front of Coach Saban. So.
Yeah. No.
So Coach Saban, if you're listening to the show, roll tide.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not, but somebody will tell him if we're talking about things other than Notre Dame. So let me put this graphic back on here before we break out, just because we don't want to make Coach mad with the rat poison. This Notre Dame team is going to come in. They're going to be more confident. They're going to have, I guess, a better game plan to beat Alabama. I think they're going to be able to do some things on the defensive line, where they could look, they were giving Trevor Lawrence problems at times in that football game, but I don't think they're going to have seen the type of athletes that Alabama has. We're going to get a real litmus test too. What Alabama does against Notre Dame is going to tell us kind of what to expect against Clemson. If Alabama struggles against Notre Dame, the way that we saw Clemson just run through them, you know what? That could tell us that we got something to worry about. If Alabama blows out Notre Dame, you might get an idea that Alabama is going to match up okay against Clemson. Clemson has Trevor Lawrence, right? Travis Etienne. But besides that, you're not looking at the type of talent in spots that they had the last time they played Alabama. They don't have a bunch of first-round picks at receiver. The defense is okay, but they're not star-studded like that team was. So talent-wise, I think Alabama's got the edge on Clemson for sure. Ohio State may have as much talent as anybody, but you know what? They're not battle-tested, so we don't really know what to expect from them.
Yeah. One more thing real quick, Mick. What are your thoughts about one of our guys getting the Heisman?
Look, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. And maybe part of this is because there's a guilt that I have because I didn't think that Mac Jones was going to be any good. I was hoping that Talia would step up and be the next Alabama quarterback. When Tua left, I watched him play at Thompson, broadcast a game where I saw him just absolutely torch Tuscaloosa County High, and I thought that this guy's about as good at his position as any quarterback that I'd ever seen play in high school, moving up to, college, and I saw Bo Scarborough play at Northridge High as a sophomore and just freight train everybody. Talia was the same way at quarterback. I watched Mac Jones last year, and I didn't like the way that he played against Tennessee. I didn't like the way he played against Auburn. I thought he had all these skill guys. He just looked indecisive. He didn't look big enough.
I kept telling myself last year, I'm like, we need Tua back.
Right. But then this season comes, and you know what? The guy made me eat my words, and I'm happy about it. Look, he's been better than Tua in a lot of areas. And Tua is my favorite Alabama player. I mean, the difference, in what Mac's been able to do is, first off, he finds this guy a lot, right? At any time he is open or even not open, Devontae Smith. He gets Smitty the football a lot. He also throws it and hands it off a lot to Najee behind that big offensive line. But the biggest thing is that he knows when to get rid of the football. I thought I hated when, I watched Tua get hurt against Mississippi State. He's trying to run around. He's got a 35-7 lead. All he's got to do is throw the ball out of bounds, and he gets hurt. And I mean, it was like it broke all of our hearts because we love the guy so much. It'd always be those plays where Tua's running back and forth instead of just throw the ball away. This guy always seems to throw the ball away if the play's not there. He looks off receivers.
Do we know about the one of our guys that got hurt against a couple of weeks ago? The guy that went down at the end of the game.
You talking about Landon Dickerson?
Yeah,
he's out. Okay? Yeah, he's out. He's not going to play center, so we're going to have a different center. Chris Owens is going to be the center, but Chris Owens can play. He's played before. He started. He's going to be just fine, I think. But just kind of going back to the Heisman, I just feel like Mac Jones has this deep ball and the touch on the ball. It's like he can just feather it up there to these guys as well as any Alabama quarterback I can even remember. Better than Jalen Hurts. Tua is about as good of a deep ball thrower as there is. This guy, NFL wise, they're going to love the way that he throws the football. So I would say, as much as I love Devontae Smith and everything that he brings to the table, I'd vote for those guys 1 and 2, and then probably Trevor Lawrence 3 and Kyle Trask 4. But I think they're all really good players. I just hope that, fingers crossed. I mean, we win if Smitty or Mac wins it, as Alabama guys. And if, and there's a lot of people that have Smitty first and Mac second, because of, all the things that he's done. And if Smitty wins, I think that the things that really help him are that he had that Heisman moment, that catch right there against LSU. You can point to the kick return that he had, against, I guess it was Arkansas, but you just turn around and it's like he's doing so many different things. He's double covered and he still catches the ball 15 times for, almost 200 yards. He's having a season like, no other Alabama receiver. And you're talking about some just heavy company, with Julio Jones and Amari Cooper and, just the 4 guys, the 3 other guys that he was with, Calvin Ridley, Judy Ruggs and Waddle and him. I mean, this guy has been kind of the unsung hero of that group, even though he caught the game-winning touchdown to beat Georgia, and he's getting his due now, and I'm happy for him.
Do we, real quick, and then I'll let you get on to the next call, but do we know if Waddle's coming back to the playoffs?
What I'm hearing is that he's not coming back this game, but that there is a shot that he could come back for the national championship game. So, I don't know how accurate that is or not, but I'm hearing that there's a chance. So, just prayers to him. Hopefully, and I'll tell you something else too. Whether he is or not, the fact that they're talking about it really tells me something about him. When you're in a world of players opting out that are healthy, here's a guy that could opt out because he got hurt and he's going to be a first-round pick. And yet, we're hearing that there's a chance that the guy could come back and help Alabama. I mean, that would be such a pick-me-up for a team that has already played, so well if it happens. I mean, I think it's a long shot, but I don't think that it's impossible. And we've seen it before in the past. Some of these guys, they want to be out on that football field and play for that coach right there, Nick Saban, badly. They want to be there for their team, and they want to win a championship. And if Jaylen Waddle came back, I think that'd be a huge story.
I don't even play football. I don't even play football, and I want to play for Nick Saban. It's like I want to be on that field as bad as anybody. It's like, goodness. Like, I mean, he's a legend. Like, the stadium should be named after him after he retires.
Oh, they're going to name a lot of things after him.
Nick Saban Field, you like that?
I think it'd be like, what is it, Bryant Denny Stadium right now? Maybe like Saban Bryant Stadium. I mean, I don't know. Like, the guy's going to have some things named after him. I'm sure there'll be a road named after him. We got Bryant Drive now. We'll probably have Saban Drive somewhere.
Saban Boulevard.
Yeah, Saban Boulevard. He's got a statue already. He's got a car dealership somewhere too, right? Doesn't he? He's going to have
Saban Chevrolet. Saban Chevrolet.
He's going to have a lot of things named after him before it's all said and done. And I'm hoping that my buddy Daniel Moore at New Life Art does a really cool like Saban picture. He's in other pictures, but I would love to have like that. Like he did that Tua print. I would love to have like a Saban print. And I'm sure that he would do something cool with that. And, New Life Art, man, I got a bunch of their pictures in here. Love those guys. And, and Daniel Moore, the art that he puts out there. And I see Saban. I mean, I got one here you guys can't see, 2nd and 26, right? And he's just like holding his hands up here after Tua's pass. And then I switched my studio around. I got Saban up there. That was the Clemson win. He's in the background and then but I want his own print, right? So, but anyway, yeah. So I hope that he doesn't retire. I don't think he's going to, but you know what? When you get his age, people are going to always look
I want him
and wonder.
I want him and James Spann to retire at the same time because I don't think James Spann's going to retire.
I met James Spann at a Birmingham Barons game. And for those of you that aren't from Alabama, the weather can get pretty bad with the tornadoes. And James Spann's one of the local weather guys, and he does about as good of a job as you can.
If his sleeves is rolled up and the jacket's off, you better get underground.
Yeah, right. If he tells you to watch out in Coker, if Brookwood gets called out, you better watch out. If he's saying Fairhope's getting a tornado, which he really wouldn't because he's up in central Alabama.
The one thing that I really like that James Spann does on the air that not a lot of meteorologists do is he'll tell you who's not in the polygon.
Right.
And not a lot of people do that. And he's like, if you show them a live video, they'll do something. But if you show them radar, it's a bucket of spilled paint.
Yeah, look, for those of you that haven't been we got people from all over the country. Some people are like, what are you guys talking about? Look, when the weather comes in the South, and being someone that went to college at Alabama and really had no idea about these tornadoes. The first one that I ran into hit the campus, back in the 90s. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, everybody was hiding in the basement, and I'm standing in my room. And then I saw the tornado take the roof off the aquatic center. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to pay attention to these things a little bit more than I did. So,
I mean, like April 27th, 2011 was the big day that 62 tornadoes came through the state of Alabama, and like 252 people lost their lives.
That's crazy.
One thing that's good with James Spann, I know we're going on a tirade here on a sports show, but James Spann wants to memorize the names and the stories of the people that passed away. That's saying something. If you want to, like, he seems more like a friend than just a guy on TV,
Yeah. Look, he's a great guy, and he does a wonderful job. It's just funny that we
Read
got
his
into
book,
talking about
Weathering Life.
we talked about James
plug
Spann.
here, SpannBook.com.
Well, hey, thanks for the call.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, call back in. I'm going to wrap this one up here shortly, but appreciate you calling in. Always good to hear from you over in Pace in the Panhandle. Merry Christmas, Happy holidays, however you celebrate, and we'll be back on
Merry Christmas, man.
Tomorrow night with Monday Night Quarterback. Merry Christmas. And we invite all you guys. It'll be 6 o'clock tomorrow night. We'll be talking about everything going on. It won't be me by myself. I have an entire crew of people from Bama Insider that'll jump on and hang out. Got to thank Mike Singer from Blue and Gold for stopping by and talking Notre Dame, Alabama with us at the beginning of the show. And also ask all of you guys, implore you guys to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate you so much. I can't even tell you, man, whether you're an Alabama fan or you're a Florida fan and you get in here and you mix it up on the, on the comment section and you hang out with us, we really appreciate it. I mean, that's what this is supposed to be about. Look, this is Bama Insider and the Bama Insider YouTube channel. I mean, so we're gonna talk a lot of Alabama, but it's college football talk. I don't know who else is doing a 2-hour show on a Sunday night and hanging out with you guys. And so I appreciate all of you for being on there. Also, this week, my show is the Bama Insider Tailgate Show. We put a lot of pride in that. I want to invite you guys to check it out. We're going to have it from Pearl River Resort and Casino at the Timeout Sports Lounge in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're going to be there on the 30th, the 31st, and then the show is going to be from 9 to 11 on Jocks coming up on the 1st, and that'll preview Alabama, Notre Dame, and the first round of this college football playoff. So, make sure you check it out here. Tomorrow we'll have, as I mentioned, Monday Night Quarterback with Kyle Henderson, Trey Yannity, Tony Tsoukalas, or who knows, maybe we'll have some special guests. But anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I can't tell you how much I appreciated hanging out. I needed to get away from all of the food that I've been eating and everything else that's going on and just talk some college football with you guys. So check out the Max and Mick podcast on Bama Insider. Did that today with Max Howe. We talk a lot of college football in there. It's free. Just go to, Apple or Spotify where you get your podcasts and check it out. So anyway, thanks guys. Have a great holiday. We'll talk to you tomorrow and roll.